That is how you make a statement. UCLA kicked USC's bleeping.
You are Locked On UCLA, your daily podcast on the UCLA Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to this edition of the Locked On UCLA podcast. I'm your host, Zach Anderson-Yoxsimer. Thanks for making this show your first listen each and every day. It's free wherever you get your podcast, and it's available on YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe. Thanks for your support. It's your team every day. Man, oh man, UCLA destroyed USC. I didn't know how this game would go, and all of a sudden, UCLA turned on the afterburners in the regular season finale. And I mean the afterburners to destroy the Trojans. 90-63. To put it in perspective, USC had to go on a 9-0 run to end the game to lose this game by less than 30 when they're on the verge of losing by 40. Like, they had Wesley Yates putting up buckets to get this within 6 in the first half. I'm like, why doesn't UCLA put away teams? I'm like, why are they up 6 in the first half? This is a game they should be winning by 12 to 13 to 15 points. Well, a late first half spurt ended with the UCLA Bruins up by 12. And then if you ever wondered what perfect UCLA basketball looked like in the Mick Cronin era, like picture perfect, the ideal Mick Cronin style of basketball, you saw it on display. I probably said this before. I've seen UCLA at its full potential. This is UCLA at its full potential. Literally as great as they could play. They forced 20 turnovers, 37 points off turnovers. That is unheard of. They scored almost 40 points off turnovers. Almost 40 points off turnovers. That's ridiculous. In the paint, they ate the Trojans alive. USC does not have a lot of size. So what do? You eat it for breakfast, you get some lunch, you get some dinner, you mix in some snacks, and you get some dessert. And the Bruins put it all together with a cherry on top and mix the hot fudge, get the sundae, maybe you're about the chocolate syrup, put it all together, get a little whipped cream, mix some nuts in there, and bam. Whatever your flavor dessert is, UCLA put it in the best form. Oh, by the way, who was shooting the best? Skyy Clark shot 70% from the field, hit 3 threes. Key 17 points. Bilodeau, okay, a quiet 12, 50% shooting. Oh, Dailey Jr., an iconic performance for the third time this year with over 20-plus points, 10 of 13 shooting. Doesn't that remind you of what he's done against Oregon twice this year? Oh, Aday Mara, plays 14 minutes. Impresses me even more every single time he steps on the floor. 14 points, 6 of 7 shooting, couple of boards, couple of assists. And I'm just like, dude, this man's a beast. One day it's more physical. Now he's showing more finesse, living up to the hype that Mick Cronin has brought for him. And it continually frustrates us that he doesn't play 20. He didn't need to play 20 in this game because UCLA was up big. But I would love him to get more consistent minutes in the Big Ten tournament. Now, Sebastian Mack, in 19 minutes, got a lot of late minutes, ended up with 10 points. Dylan Andrews didn't shoot the ball a lot, but 7 assists to 1 turnover in 19 minutes coming off the bench because Lazar Stefanovic started today on senior day. And that was the switch in the starting lineup. Bilodeau, Clark, Stefanovic, Dailey Jr., Johnson. All right. And ironically, Kobe Johnson didn't shoot that well on his final senior day with UCLA against USC. He didn't do that much scoring, but 8 rebounds, 4 assists. And what did Kobe Johnson have in this game? A steal, not technically no blocks, but was everywhere possibly in this game. Huge, like utterly obliterated the USC Trojans, who, mind you, played a game. UCLA had more rest. Technically, they played Monday against Northwestern. USC played Wednesday at home against Washington. USC destroyed Washington, like blew them out of the water. Had shot a lot of threes. UCLA went back and forth. We wondered how this game would go. UCLA at the Galen Center had a decent lead. USC came back, but the Bruins did not play with Tyler Bilodeau last time. This game didn't have anything. I mean, it certainly did, but it didn't all have to do with Tyler Bilodeau playing in this matchup where UCLA didn't have them the first time. So UCLA just utterly destroyed them. Let's remind you, UCLA has played 3 teams twice this year in conference play. That would be a much higher number in Pac-12 play. That'd be a much higher number in other conference play. Sometimes in the good old days, you'd play home and homes. Let's remind you, the UCLA Bruins have played 3 teams, all those West Coast teams. Now we can debate the merits of their talents, the differences between those teams and the Illinois, the Purdue's, the Maryland's, all those. We could debate all that. But UCLA played 3 teams 2 times and swept them all. Washington. Well, Washington's near the bottom. UCLA went on the road and beat Washington. Beat them by double figures early, and then went on the road without their leading scorer and won that game late. Against Oregon, close win early. Basic buzzer beater shot from Dylan Andrews. Second time, beat the brakes off the Ducks in Pauley Pavilion. Against USC early, UCLA had to pull away. So close wins on the road against all those 3 West Coast teams. And the final time, or the home game, UCLA with authority, especially against Oregon, especially against USC, authority dominated. So that gives me a little bit of hope, a lot of hope actually, heading into the Big Ten tournament, where there will be a lot of second, third chance matchups. And I wonder how Mick Cronin can game plan now that there's a new weapon involved, like Aday Mara, a healthy UCLA team where they weren't healthy necessarily in that early part of January, going east, hosting Michigan, going to Nebraska. Now it's on a neutral floor. Only 15 teams get invited to the small Big Ten dance. And the Bruins now, last time I told you, I was like, I don't think there's any way UCLA can get into a top 4 seed. That was not even on my mind. Mathematically, it was possible, but it ended up needing a Maryland win, a Wisconsin loss, and a Purdue loss. And a Purdue loss to Illinois. A Wisconsin loss to Penn State. And Maryland having to win against Northwestern. All right? If any of those things had happened differently, the Big Ten standings changed dramatically. But UCLA entered this game with a chance to be either a 4 seed, earning the double bye, hovering around that top 3 projected potential that they were in the preseason, which is where they end up, or losing this game to become a 7 seed. UCLA in a dream scenario. With this end of season burst, with how the rest of the regular season finished out with this Big Ten finish, UCLA is a 4 seed. So they don't even have to play that first game. I was thinking they'd be a 6 seed. And then next thing you know, multiple things went their way. 2 ranked opponents near the top of the Big Ten lost to unranked opponents. Crazy. Now we know Illinois is underrated and underranked because they've been hurt and they've had a lot of injuries, but they're very good. UCLA's suffered the same fate that others have done against a healthy Illinois squad. But a win for UCLA, they're the 4 seed. They'll play Friday morning, early afternoonish now, with a full 4 days, 5 days of rest actually, before they play their next game. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Okay, 5 full days of rest before they even take the court for a game. So you don't got to leave to Indiana as early. You can recover. You can enjoy your senior day. You can look at the tape and be like, if I wanted to say no notes, that is no notes. No notes. So most likely what could happen is with Wisconsin being the 5 seed, it means we might see a UCLA-Wisconsin rematch. What does that mean for Aday Mara? Is he going to feast in the first round of the Big Ten tournament? Is Cronin going to let him go as long in the first round of the Big Ten tournament? Or quote-unquote first round, which is the Big Ten quarterfinals, since UCLA gets double bye. A lot of questions, a lot of rest, and a lot of opportunity for UCLA to enjoy this time off, and with a win, get another signature quad one win, and all of a sudden you go from a 6 seed. Joe Lunardi, I'm hoping when he next releases his bracketology, gets them to a 6, a 5 seed. Get him back west. Get him to Denver or Seattle in that opening round. Put him in the West Regional. I dare you. This is the team that I said a couple weeks ago is going to make you believe again and crush your heart. Well, this is the part where I'm telling you I'm in. And I told you 2 weeks ago, I'm going to get in. I'm going to break my heart. And you're going to have to remind me in the comments. This is that day where I am in. And you're going to have to remind me to be level-headed. I'm not level-headed right now. UCLA, when you destroy your rival like that, when you just utterly destroy them in front of a crowd that was frenzied and energetic, honoring 3 separate national championship winning teams on senior day, when you stole their captain and team leader, you bring in another heart and soul with Lazar Stefanovic. We got to give him so much props for being a team leader on a team that was horrible and then having to take a reduced role and staying on a team that could do a lot of damage in March Madness, a lot of damage. And now the Bruins turn themselves into a unique Big Ten tournament contender, a unique sleeper in March Madness, depending on where you put them in the bracket, where they end up seated, what region, the tournament, the travel. The defense can travel, but the rest in the recovery does not if you have to keep traveling east, further than the Rockies. going to the Smokies, all right? You don't want to go that far east. You don't want to go to Newark. You don't want to go to Providence in the first round. Keep them west, and the Bruins with utter dominance, just literal utter dominance. And whenever you see UCLA play USC and there's a beatdown involving the Bruins taking down their bitter rivals, you love it. And remember, all those early years for Cronin, he couldn't solve Andy Enfield. But so far for Musselman, who's going to do a better job recruiting, I guarantee it. Guarantee it when he has a full offseason to get the high school kids, to get the transfers, he will get his guys and USC will be much better next year. Guaranteed, 100%. But this year, we enjoy it. We enjoy the trend and the move up to the dance. The big thing for this team, though, heading into Big Ten tournament, stay healthy. As we remember 2 years ago, Skyy Clark had the Achilles injury. Then heading into the Big Ten tournament, Aday Mara then took out his shoulder in a dive in the Pac-12 tournament semifinals against Oregon. Avoid all those things. UCLA does not need a win in the Big Ten tournament. This means, most likely, for UCLA, it is not going to be an ugly loss in the Big Ten tournament. And if they play an underseeded team, an underdog, that means they've either compiled one or two upsets to get there. I haven't looked at the bracket. It's really wonky, but it would at least have involved one more top team going down prior to UCLA, and you could chalk it up to March Madness and a team getting hot, a la NC State last year. All right? So UCLA on a neutral court is not going to suffer any ugly losses. The dominance of USC just proves UCLA can play well. And when a team doesn't have size, and the Bruins have a hidden weapon in Aday Mara waiting in the wings, this is a team to be reckoned with in March. All right? A lot of time to dissect the Big Ten tournament, to dissect what it looks like heading into March Madness for the Bruins, but a lot of excitement from this performance. Like, if you're like, how is this team going to wrap up the regular season? How will they move on? Wow. What a statement to make for Mick Cronin's Bruins. What a statement to make. Huge. Absolutely huge. And speaking of statements, UCLA on the women's side, we got UCLA USC round 3. Going to make a quick recap of the UCLA first couple of rounds against Nebraska and then against Ohio State. But really, the story of the weekend, Big Ten tournament time, UCLA USC needing a statement victory against Juju Watkins of the Trojans. Next on Locked on UCLA. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started. And there's no better place to get on the action than with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can play as live bets throughout the game. So even if you miss the opening tip-off, you can get in on the fourth quarter comeback or lack thereof in the second half like there was by UCLA dominating USC. If you saw that coming, you can combine all of those bets into a same-game parlay. Go check out FanDuel, where the app's super easy to use, and when you win, you get paid instantly. There's no waiting around. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Again, that's FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, let's take you on a quick journey so far for the UCLA women. All right, it's not going to be overly comprehensive, but we're going to go with what it looked like for UCLA. What I wanted from UCLA against Nebraska, this was a team who in early January fought the Bruins for 20 minutes. UCLA dominated one by close to 40 points. UCLA turned it over 30 times against Nebraska in early January, and I wanted to see the Bruins shoot the ball well from downtown. All right, this is game 1 of the Big Ten tournament. UCLA had a double bye. What ended up happening against Nebraska? Well, it was a vintage Lauren Betts performance. 28 points, 13 rebounds. Kiki Rice struggled to shoot, 14 points, 9 assists though, but 4 turnovers. UCLA kept that turnover number close to 10, and when they do that, they're pretty much elite. The shooting numbers weren't there, 6 of 29 from 3, 44% overall, but dominance by Lauren Betts and really clutch free throw shooting. The Bruins shooting 83% for the game. Great. Another fantastic thing happening in that opening Big Ten game for the Bruins. Gabriela Jaquez, the return of dominance for her. 23 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists. So maybe with an undersized team or team focusing so much on Lauren Betts, it was another matchup for Gabby Jaquez to be featured in, right? She was one of those Big Ten all honorable mention honorees. And it was that early part of the Big Ten schedule where she literally ate those teams up for breakfast. Now, I'd like to see her step it up. She shot really well, hit the threes, hit her free throws, did not turn it over, had a pretty much no-notes performance for herself in the opening night of Big Ten play. As far as the shooters go from three, Dugalich was unheard of, London Jones was unheard of, and Gardner had a pretty quiet day off the bench. Okay, that was the first game against Nebraska where UCLA won 85-74. Nebraska in this game got it to a 2-point game at half, and then UCLA pulled it away against a Nebraska team that was 21-11. Okay, if you looked at the USC first couple of games, they struggled against Michigan. They almost lost to Indiana. So a close opening game for UCLA, tough battle, neutral site, travel, cool. Bruins handled it. They take on a top 15, at one point top 10, unbeaten Ohio State team, right? That came to Pauley Pavilion. You're like, oh, this is a huge game. Well, UCLA, second game in 2 nights, all right? It's for UCLA, win, win, win. You get 3 games in 3 days. Against Ohio State, the Bruins destroyed the Buckeyes. I've been saying beat the brakes. They beat the brakes off the Buckeyes. That's so amazing to say. Doesn't make any sense being a nut, but it's a nut job if you don't think this amazing performance means anything for UCLA. They came out with a statement, up 14-1 against the Ohio State. Huge 20-plus points at halftime. Oh, by the way, let's play even better in the third quarter. And Ohio State had to outscore the Bruins by 8 in the fourth to keep this within a 30-point game and not make it a 40-point blowout. So if you want to see similar performances from both the men and the women, this was one of those performances by UCLA. A Corey Close no-notes performance where we saw London Jones. I'd asked for her at least one of the first 2 nights to shoot the ball well, more specifically in the Nebraska game. London Jones, 6 threes, 22 points. That's the type of London Jones and type of shooting from either Jones or Gardner that will take UCLA a long, long way in the Big Ten tournament. Okay, they're in the Big Ten final. And in the NCAA tournament when they're going to have to play USC for, dare I say, a 4th time. We already get round 3. Chalk it up on your calendar. It's maybe just a matter of time before we get round 4. So London Jones, 6 of 12 from 3, was lighting it up. Lauren Betts, 23 minutes. The Bruins kept her minutes down. 12 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. All-around performance. They didn't need a lot from her. Gabriela Jaquez, 5 of 5 from the field. 12 points, 5 boards. Is she the dynamo the UCLA Bruins have been waiting for her to reignite, explode, burst on the scene? Had nothing to do in the first couple of USC games. The last month plus, almost unheard of, but she's been a very vital part of UCLA's success this year. One of those sophomores turning into juniors that Corey Close is leaning on to do a lot. Undersized, can somewhat shoot, and when Jaquez isn't shooting well, if Gardner isn't knocking it down, nor is London Jones, you're losing the depth of the shooting. Where I went over the numbers the other day, the UCLA women have made nearly the same amount of threes with a slightly better percentage, even without Charisma Osborne on the team. That's because Jaquez has stepped up her shooting numbers, except for this last month lull. Last 2 days, though, a high working, what do they call her, all gas Gabs comes in, boom. Great first 2 days of performances. Dugalich gets back with a good shooting performance, 10 points, 9 boards, and near double-double. Kiki Rice played less than 20 minutes, had 6 assists, 8 points. UCLA, in this dominant performance, leaned a lot more on their bench. You see a lot of minutes from Arna Salo, Kendall Dudley, Avery Kane, Zinnia Saka, Tamia Gardner, right? Balancing this lineup that went 11 players deep, and hopefully, while USC had to fight a couple of times against Michigan late, against Indiana late, the Bruins, who I believe have more depth of talent that will be tested for the 3rd straight time, you got to win this game. UCLA needs this game. If they lose it, maybe they're on the edge of falling out of the 1-seed territory into the 2-seed territory. But the Bruins can wrap up a Big Ten tournament title, guarantees they're a 1-seed, make sure they play in Spokane on the western side of the U.S., plays on the West Coast in their 2nd round. And then you most likely don't face USC in a Final Four too early, or you don't face one of those tough 2 seeds in their bracket. Very slim chance UCLA gets bumped up to a number 1 overall seed. Unlikely, but you have to beat USC. And what's the key in this game? You can't let Juju Watkins explode. UCLA has to play with confidence. And let's get down to 3 mini keys that will serve as our mini preview. 1, turnovers. That's just 1. Turnovers. We're not talking apple turnovers. We're not talking dessert. Just don't give up your candy. Don't give up the basketball to USC. That has been crucial. 2, where is UCLA's depth going to beat USC's depth? UCLA's depth has to play so much better. This is where Gabriela Jaquez comes in. Her rebounding, her intensity defensively, her shooting, where with her performance, she's going to be an all Big Ten tournament team member. Could, dare I say, be an all Big Ten tournament MVP if she plays as well as she has in the first two nights on championship game Sunday. All right. While we might all lose some sleep with daylight savings and all that coming to an end, or, we go forward, she's been springing forward into March Madness-esque memorable performances. She does this against Juju Watkins, against USC. That will lead UCLA to have an edge over USC. And the final thing, UCLA needs to hit their threes. Juju has gone supernova once, scored 30 points the second time, got red hot from three. The Bruins have to keep up from the three-point line. Their shooting has to be a lot better than it has been the first two times. They had the lead heading into the fourth against the Trojans in Galen Center. They got it to 4 late against USC the second time, but then long USC sustained runs found themselves in the wrong end, and that's why Juju Watkins is going to win Big Ten Player of the Year, maybe National Player of the Year, and going to get all these awards when Lauren Betts is just as dominant. It's because who rises up in the big moments? Does UCLA have that defender? Will Corey Close lean on said defender, whoever she deems it to be? Some might say that's Kendall Dudley. Some might say UCLA goes somewhere else defensively and sacrifices an offensive piece. Whatever that might be, UCLA just can't let Juju Watkins single-handedly beat them offensively, defensively, rebounding, everything, like she's almost done 1.5 times. Because she is that good. But UCLA has the talent around the team with one of the best players in the country, one of the best point guards in the country, and some of the most talented role players all around their roster to beat USC. You can't lose 3 times in a row. Otherwise, if you lose this game, you're looking at trying to be an LSU team that hopes, like a South Carolina got knocked off early 2 seasons ago, right? That was what UCLA would be hoping for if they couldn't beat USC in the Big Ten tournament title. The confidence, the victory, the morale, everything would boost significantly higher and prove that on a third game in 3 days, they had the mental toughness to boot to beat your bitter rival and find the way, the fortitude to come through with a big win. And we'll react after the Big Ten tournament championship game right here in Locked On UCLA. You mark my words. For better or for worse, we will talk about it and what it means for the NCAA tournament going forward for the UCLA women. Until then, just like it was today, and it will be tomorrow, hands up Bruins fans as we rock on here with Locked On UCLA. Here we go. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, UCLA. UCLA beat SC. They beat the brakes off of them. They destroyed the Trojans and beat them tomorrow. Let's go. Take out those pesky Trojans. This has been Locked On UCLA. Zach signing off. Go Bruins.